are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We are delighted to have you here today. Very much looking forward to this presentation. To me, it's been absolutely a privilege knowing and working with Tom Creely. He is a principal of Ethics Firma. He is also the secretary on the board of directors for the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. He's got his hands in a number of other things as well. He is on the Business Ethics Committee. He's also part of the Membership Committee and New Century Forum Coordinator with the Commerce Club of Atlanta. And he is a Community Relations Council member in Georgia. So lots of things going on. Definitely knows his stuff, knows what he's talking about. So we very much appreciate having him here today, having him talk to us about IACET, the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. Because of the number of you on the call, we do have you in mute mode. What that means is if you have questions as we go through the presentation, please feel free to simply type them into the question panel. I will be monitoring that and feeding those questions to Tom as we go, so definitely looking for those. A few of you did submit questions ahead of time. We do have those. We did talk about those, so Tom will be incorporating some of that as we go. And then, of course, I'll be feeding those to him during the program as well. So very excited. As you can see, we're turning the screen over to Tom. And thank you very much for being here, Tom, and for making this presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate your introduction. And welcome all of our attendees online to Basic 101 of International Association for Continuing Education and Training. We hear a lot this day and time in business publication and on the news about workforce development. We hear it internationally as well as locally. I meet with some international people here in Atlanta frequently, and it is a topic of not only interest but also a concern with changing technology. How do we go about developing our workforce to be ready to meet the technological needs? Well, as a proponent of IACET, having started in probably, say, 1993, 95, when I was at within the Navy and Naval Education and Training, I became familiar with IACET and became a strong believer in their concepts of quality and control for continuing education and training. So certainly we developed those skills and knowledge and expertise with a good quality program. We're going to look at the overview of IACET. It is a nonprofit association dedicated to improving quality of continuing education and training. It is an accredited body for educators with some strict guidelines that they must adhere to in order to maintain that quality and the distinction of for issuing CEUs. Certainly the process is a standard that continuing education and training providers and individuals learners seek for that quality. Interestingly, IACET is the only ANSI, which is American National Standards Institute, accredited CEU granting body in the United States, or really anywhere in the world. So that is a distinction that we're quite proud of to have in IACET. Go through the history briefly. We started in 1968 out of the with the commission from the U.S. Bureau of Education and looking at the feasibility of continuing education and training. Certainly a CEU is 10 contact hours. That equals 1 CEU. We've gone through the years in developing Council on Education. Also in the 90s, 1990 became the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. The Certified Provider Program was implemented in 91, and then the Council on Standards, which took a review of the program and said we really are not meeting the needs according to the learners and those who are teaching, and as well as the technology advancement. So in 2005, these standards councils got together and revamped the whole program to improve the quality and the content of IACET. Then in 2006, we received the ANSI accreditation. So what is the standard that I'm talking about that we have worked so hard to be the symbol of quality continuing education? Well, the learning process measures all aspects of an educational provider's program, and it demonstrates that their programs, your programs as a provider, meet 10 nationally recognized standard categories. And here are those 10 categories. Identifying the learner's needs from a needs analysis. Also, developing learning objectives to tell the learner what needs to happen after the training. What will they walk away with? What are the takeaways for them? And the actions must be observable, measurable, and performed by the learner. We also like in learning objective statements, use action verbs that are measurable, such as riding, skiing, or diving. We try to avoid words such as know, understand, or appreciate, because we like to help you as a provider have a deeper focus on that learning experience for the learner and for you as the authorized provider and instructor. Now, our first category is continuing education and training organization, and that is who is responsible for this training program in developing it, administering the necessary requirements and processes, and the delivery of continuing education and training within that organization. The second category is responsibility and control. We look at this from the hierarchy of the chain of command. The instructional designer, the program manager, the administrator, how they put it together, and then who does it go to in the chain of command in each of your organizations. And obviously, as in leadership, the CEO, the president, the chair, or principal, that's where the buck stops as far as responsibility, because it's important to have that accountability in the process and it be delineated. Learning environment and support systems. These are for each learning event to ensure the achievement of the planned learning outcomes. It's important to have an environment that makes it easier to learn, that facilitates learning. And this comes from questions, do we have adequate lighting? How about access for handicapped or learning impaired? And we look for ways that we can facilitate an individual's learning experience and the support, for instance, also with technology and providing that as well, and equal access for everyone to be able to learn in that environment. We have a laundry list of things that people can check off that helps to improve that learning environment and support environment. Category 4 is the learning event planning. And as you can see, we see this as a needs assessment that identifies the learning needs of a specific audience. You could do that by a survey, your clients or your staff, personnel, and to learn topics that there may be a deficiency in or an interest in having. There could be something, an incident or something that has happened where you need to have what I'm retired Navy, and we would call a stand down after an incident, and we would develop training because of that need, which could be a safety issue or a social issue or a behavior issue that's going on in the business organization. So there are various ways of assessing the needs to develop your training around. And so it's important for us to see how you do that process, in the fact that they're using different methods of assessment in order to ascertain those needs for the learner, as well as for your organization. Category 5, learning outcomes. Now that's developing a set of clear and specific written statements of intended learning outcomes. What is it, as an instructor, as the AP provider, do you want your people, your learners, to walk away with? What skills, knowledge do you want them to have and be able to demonstrate and use when they leave that learning experience? And this also is a fantastic tool in enabling you in stating those learning outcomes as you develop your curriculum to match that. Category 6, planning and instructional personnel. When we do the inspections and look at the application, we examine the resumes, and we will even go online and do background checks online to find out who you have teaching the courses. What are their qualifications? Do they truly represent what you're teaching and have knowledge? Because this is part of the issue of quality education that you provide in order for businesses and clients to take advantage in developing their workforce. We look at those closely. And this is a benefit for you as well as for us in maintaining the standard. Category 7 is content and instructional methods. And for a lesson or course that you might teach, in this format, you give the title of the lesson, the time allotted, because that way you're going to be able to calculate your CEU credits, content description and purpose. You list your outcomes as well, and then what are the different learning methods that you're going to employ, because people have different learning styles. And then the method of assessment or rubric for measuring what they have learned and can demonstrate. And then materials required for the particular course. Category 8 is assessment of learning outcomes. What did they learn? Was your teaching effective? Was there something in the environment that inhibited it? By doing pre- and post-test, demonstrating a process or exercise is a way to measure what has been learned. And this is also a fantastic tool I found in being able to tweak my own courses and the material and the content. Category 9 is a system for awarding CEUs and maintaining learner records. You become, as an AP, a registrar because you keep records of every learner who has gone through your program, which indicates the course, the CEUs earned and for that individual. Records are required to be kept for 7 years. You also are in charge of maintaining the privacy of these transcripts and records that you maintain. So this is important to have this process in line and adhere to the standards of IACET. One of the important things in addition to this is offering certificates that go with the training. Some people may take 4 or 5 courses on a particular subject, such as leadership or ethics, or something that's particular to your profession and industry, and they have the transcript of the CEUs, but they also can issue certificates of completion for a prescribed set of courses. Category 10 is the evaluation program. At the end of every course, we expect that the course content presentation be evaluated and the instructor be evaluated. Because this is important in being able to make adjustments to the needs of your learner, make adjustments to changing information, educational content and resources, as well as maintaining quality control on your instructors as well as the content. Accountability, quality control, and review are essential in maintaining the standard of these 10 categories that we expect in IACET. So what is IACET today? Organizationally, you are the head of IACET, so to speak, because you are our customer, and you are the ones that elected me to the board of directors as authorized providers or members of IACET. Under that, we function to represent you, to voice your concerns of your experiences, your ideas, as we develop the program and continue to improve it and make it of high quality. The commission is the group that conducts the application reviews. Once you've submitted an application, the commission will receive it and they will start reviewing it for its accuracy, for its depth, for its abiding by the guidelines of IACET, and for accountability purposes as quality control. Now, the executive director, which is of IACET, is located in, she and her staff are in McLean, Alexandria, Virginia, and they are the conduit or the intermediary between you as an AP and the commission and the board of directors from an administrative point of view. And so they're the ones that make sure that everything goes smoothly in the application process. The Council on Standards and Development gets together frequently throughout the year, continues to look at the quality of the process and the standard and take the feedback that we get from you in order to see if we need to make changes. Now we have authorized providers locally in state agencies and organizations across states and nationally and internationally. Government, nonprofit, and corporate. Our learning methods are in person, they're distance learning, such as we are doing today, with technology and also blended courses. We have individual members of IACET as well. Now, outside of continental United States, we have AP providers in Belgium, Canada, Egypt, France, Germany, India, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, St. Lucia, Spain, United Arab Emirates, and South Africa. United Arab Emirates and South Africa are our most recent countries to get into, and in fact we have other APs in those two countries who are applying as we speak for the AP status. It's a good thing about IACET. It goes across country boundaries and is recognized internationally. The next slide is talking about that representing different industry. We have the automotive industry, child care, construction industry, culinary arts, engineering. A lot of the engineers have to have a tremendous amount of continuing education every year for licensing and for their societies. Healthcare is the same way. They require a lot of continuing education as well. Manufacturing, project management, utilities, and the military utilize the AP status for training various aspects of naval education and training, or the Army education and training and Marine Corps. The purpose is to expand knowledge base and stay up to date on new developments, and also to provide license or certification renewal. Now, each state has its own rules for licensing and education requirements. We're trying to work now to get more state agencies to accept IACET CEUs. And that way they can find that it's a high quality process, and that it is generally, from my experience, IACET is a higher standard than what many states require in that education process.
And Tom, a few questions
Yes.
that have come in. This may be a great place to be answering some of them.
All right, sure.
So we've got the question that came in ahead of time in advance, asking how CEUs correlate with college credits.
It depends upon the college and what their rules are for recognizing CEUs. I do know that there are colleges that in particular recognize the IACET, ANSI, IACET, CEU, and will give credit, college credit, depending on how many CEUs they have. Obviously, it has to be a good number, and so that really depends upon that college or university and how they utilize that.
And I think that's true with a lot of the professional membership organizations where people have to have continuing education.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. And then a related question, what is the process for securing CEUs with accredited organizations?
That would be securing CEUs with a university. Is that, am I reading that question?
You know, from the way I'm reading this question, and hopefully the person who submitted it in advance is on the call and can clarify, I think what they're talking about is taking classes with organizations that are authorized providers and then having those certificates. So perhaps if they're listening in and want to clarify on that question, that'd be great. Tom, is that simply if someone is an authorized provider, they're signing up for that class, and then they either have that certificate or that certification with that organization?
Well, that would be what I'm thinking of. It would be, do they reciprocate in giving credit for a different organization? Let's say the state agency requires CEUs, but maybe they don't have IACET on their list, but they look at the standard, what we offer, or it could be a medical profession or some other group, and say, yes, we will give credit for that, and as a reciprocal relationship. So there are various agencies that we have that. In fact, if you go on the website, you can see not only the APs listed, but there is a list of organizations that accept IACET CEUs, even though they're not a provider themselves. And those come from various state agencies, professional societies and associations, and on down the list, and universities.
Okay. And related to that, somebody asked the question, how many states recognize the IACET CEUs currently?
I cannot answer that question as far as the actual numbers of states. That is one thing I don't have. I know it is a priority for IACET. In our recent meeting, board meeting, was trying to expand that. I know some of the states, I know Georgia recognizes it. South Carolina does it. I think Wisconsin and Michigan recognize it. But interestingly, it isn't that the education per state is under one umbrella. And this is why it's hard to tell, state agencies separately decide whether they want or recognize a CEU. So
Yeah.
one agency in the same state may accept it and another agency may not accept it, that's part of the complex issue we're dealing with now as a board of directors. So, you would think if you have licensing in a state, it would all be the same throughout the state with state government. But what we found is that is not necessarily true. Each agency makes its own educational requirements.
That makes a lot of sense. My experience is more on the professional membership side, and I find some professional membership organizations, if it's IACET, you're all set. It's a non-issue. With others, it's a matter of submitting all the information, and then they review it and decide whether to accept it.
Right. And generally, we'll send them information when somebody has requested it, and they see what we are and the quality of the ANSI accreditation, and then it's a no-brainer for them. They say, yes, absolutely, we accept this.
Yeah, excellent.
Yes,
and actually, you just set up the next question, Tom. What are the elements needed to get IACET CEUs? So I'm guessing, hey, to be authorized to offer those CEUs, what are the elements that have to be in place?
The elements be in place for vetting a CEU?
It has to get it. And actually, maybe I'm getting ahead. I think you're going to go in and explain the process of going through becoming an authorized provider.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go there. All
right. Next. Okay, so why choose IACET? Well, 88% of authorized providers believe that the ANSI IACET AP accreditation lends to credibility. And then 74% of the customers apply it to CEUs for licenses and certification. So it comes with high standards. It's highly recognized. They're transferable to anywhere, and you have the assurance of a quality program, assurance that records will be kept in an orderly fashion. The benefits to the provider is the self-evaluation and tweaking your program and improving it consistently. Evaluation by experts, because our commissioners who come in and look at your program and what you're doing can give some excellent advice and make suggestions for you. And it's also a really good marketing tool for the courses and your business that you want to try to sell. In some of the marketing aspects, you could put the logo on the brochures, your website, or the certificates themselves. And it gives you, that accreditation that is recognized on a global basis. Interestingly, I've done some when I was a commissioner, we even had people that literally stole the IACET logo and put it on their website to try to get that credibility, even though they had never made an application. So there's that we deal with, and we're always on the look for people who want the credibility without the hard work and paying the fees. So that also demonstrates how it's recognized.
Yeah. I know that sometimes when people take a class, it's a requirement that it be a CEU program. So.
Right. And then we have the cost of it. It's to buy the application, which is non-refundable, is $450. If you go through with the application, there's the application fee is $3,250. Now, we recommend that people take the workshop because you can do it on your own without a workshop, but the workshop, the $500, I think is a good investment. When I went through my EP status years ago, it helped me get through that. And also, that whole process really makes you think about your educational program. And it will bring questions into your mind, into your team that you've never thought about, and to develop the processes that not only provide better education and training for your learners, but it helps you to minimize risk that might be there as well. Now, with the application fee, you get 2 reviews of your application by the commission. It covers administrative costs, the site visit and travel expenses, and the commissioner honoraria that they get. Now, that is good for 5 years, your initial application, and each year there's an $835 annual fee, which covers administrative costs. We have webinars on the IACET program. We have a newsletter that comes out. So there are plenty of other tools that help keep you abreast of continuing education and training across the globe. Fantastic articles that you can use, things that you can download and teach from as well. After 5 years, go through the process again, and it's $2,500. And then the commissioners who are experts come back in, review it, look at any changes, make suggestions, and it's really a great relationship because I learn a lot by going and visiting the applicants. And the process itself is you submit the fees to IACET, and once you submit that application with the various processes requested, the lead reviewer and the site visitor are the team that will go over it with a fine-tooth comb. They will make recommendations. They will ask questions, and it's all done electronically. And they will also say, hey, this is a fantastic idea. We like your approach. Well, this is a very detailed, so you get constructive critique, and you get comments and praise for the things that you do well on your application. It takes about 4 weeks from the time you submit it to getting your site visit and having the approval in the end. The site visitor and the lead reviewer make the recommendation to a committee, and then within days of that recommendation, I think it's generally about 72 hours, you get a response of approval, or if additional information is needed. Now, when the site visitor comes out to visit, we basically want to verify what we have seen on the application. And so we sit down and go through every aspect of your processes, look at your curriculum, how you calculate your CEUs, look at the qualifications of your instructors, and ask questions. And Kathy was one of my AP applicants that I did the site visit on. She gave me an easy job because she's an extremely detailed person, and absolutely everything was in order, and she had put a lot of thought into the processes that helped her in establishing a high-quality educational program for her coaching business and operations.
And I've got to say the application process itself was amazing in terms of the learning and how you're organizing your training and putting it on. Yeah, from the time you submitted, it's 4 weeks to the site visit, filling out that application. Everyone I talked to said, oh, 6 months to a year. So it's a great education for quality training.
We've reduced that time to about 4 months. You know, once you submit it, we get it done very quickly.
Oh yeah,
but it does take time because I've seen people who have thrown it together and say, oh, I've got it together, but you can tell that they did not put time into thinking about how they wanted to operate their business from a perspective of quality and also the attractiveness. In order, let's face it, this is also a profit motive. So how would this appear to my consumer as far as quality content and education that they would want to purchase or buy, or even attend if it's in-house educational program? Do we have any questions? Any other questions?
I have one other question for you, Tom, and I do realize I've had a couple of people, just to let you know, that have been saying thank you. They had things scheduled, and I've been letting people know we will put a recording of this up on the YouTube channel. Another question for you is, what is the difference between a certificate and certification?
That depends on the issuing it. A certificate is generally a set of courses for a specific topic or a specific agenda that you want people to learn from. In fact, I developed a graduate certificate of leadership and ethics, and we required 5 courses be taken in these topics in order to get the certificate. And anyone can set their own standards for the certificate. Certification is by a governing body such as the state boards of certification or engineering boards of certification, and those are more of a looked at from a perspective that from a legal perspective, that they have to have the certification as a psychologist or an engineer or a nurse in order to perform their job, where a certificate is added value to a person's skills and abilities. In fact, many people and companies are now looking for certificates and sending their employees not to get an MBA or a master's in a particular topic because that's more costly and takes longer. But they are sending them now, and this has been verified by the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, and some other business magazines, to get certificates in conflict resolution, certificates in sustainable management, leadership and ethics. And so you can look online to see at various universities and colleges people who are offering these. Even private organizations are offering certificates now that do education and training.
You know, that's so interesting to me, Tom, because I've always thought about a certificate being a certificate that you attended a class, whether it's 1 hour or 6 hours or that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then a certification required some sort of a testing or a final or something like that.
Right. Well, yeah, the certification does require a comprehensive exam or test and demonstration, but certificates do too. I know in the graduate certificate for leadership and ethics that I developed, I had exams that the students had to take. And these were professional people who wanted to come and get this because of the needs of requirements of Sarbanes-Oxley and federal sentencing guidelines and developing an ethical culture in a business organization. But yeah, but your academic certificates do require a type of examination and to determine, the learning outcomes. And even private educational facilities or organizations, many of them require a type of test. It depends on what kind of quality they're going to be offering. And certainly with IACET, we would require that.
Okay, excellent. And I know you have a slide with your contact information if you want to pull that up for people that do want to see that. Another question came in, and so they're looking for providers in your search engine of a particular genre and are wondering how to do that. So on your website, it sounds like when somebody is looking for a provider, can they look up a provider based on what type of training they provide? And I hope I'm understanding that question correctly. I was asking for an example from the person that submitted it.
If you go to the IACET website, and it has a list of providers, and they do now have providers in certain areas such as engineering, healthcare, and you can pull that up. You can also get the whole list of providers and go through it and look and see what universities, what businesses, associations. In fact, SHRM is one of our, probably the biggest AP provider of IACET. All their CEUs are IACET CEUs. And so you can go through and find those. We just had a website redesigned about a year ago that does break it down into categories.
Okay. So what that means is if you, and actually it's, I'm simply unsure of what additional information is wanted there. I'm unclear on that.
Well, I mean, if they were looking for, in healthcare, then it can show that as well on that website.
Okay.
What industry are you looking for as a provider?
Yeah, I asked that question. So it's, I went ahead and pulled up your website in the background, and so it looks like you can look up by organization, where they're located, website, that kind of thing. I'm not seeing if you can find it by a category of training. So unsure on that one.
Okay, unsure on that one then.
So what I'm going to, let's do this. I do want to offer, if you have more information you want, additional questions, that kind of thing, please, please, please go ahead and send those in. And if we do not get a chance to answer them here, certainly we can follow up with that. Okay, so this is what came in now, is high conflict management. So if they're looking for somebody that trains in conflict management, can they find that there as an example?
Well, now that you mentioned that it doesn't give categories, I do know that one university near actually where I am, it does a whole program and have CEU ability for high conflict management. That's Kennesaw State University here in Georgia. That's one of their specialty areas.
It sounds like it's more a matter of finding the provider for that particular topic and then verifying whether or not they're IACET approved.
Right, yeah.
Okay, good.
Because they do a lot of training outside of the university. They travel around the world to do training on conflict management. They have their own conflict management center. Excellent,
excellent. Yeah, I've done some training on that too. It's a great topic. Tom, lots of thank yous coming in. I do realize, obviously, we've gone over, so definitely appreciate your willingness to be with us. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today. I will get this loaded on YouTube, and I will send a link to you so that if you want to go back and look at it again, pick up something you may have missed, you're going to have access to it. Obviously, you've got information up on your screen with the email address and the website, and then I can include that information when I send out the email giving you the copy to the link to the recording on YouTube. So thank you, everyone. Tom, to let you know, a lot of people saying thank you. They appreciate the information. So excellent. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Kathy, for hosting.
Yeah. And I will, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and close this out and definitely look forward to touching base with you offline.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend.